Oh, we so much left to do. Rồi. Giờ mời các bác, các cô ngồi xuống. Thưa các ông, các bà, các bác, con tên là Long Nghi. Con xin các bác và con cho phép con nói tiếng Anh cho mấy em hiểu dễ hơn. So before we begin, on behalf of all the youth, I'd like to say a very heartfelt thanks for everyone who was in attendance today. It's a really, really important and special day today. All of your support is something that we definitely would not be able to do any of this without. So all of your support, emotional, financial, in terms of anything that you can do with us today, we really, really appreciate that. So I'd like to say that the youth have worked very hard, and we have, but all of our admiration and all of our thanks and I guess respect will go to the people who are here today with us to share this moment with us. So before I talk a little bit about our upcoming trip to Vietnam, which is happening at the end of this month, I'd like to talk a little bit about what the CSS Youth is all about. So for those of you who may be new and don't really know much about CSS, CSS stands for the Compassionate Service Society. It is a global nonprofit that is based in Orange County, California. And we have a youth group, just as any other religious organization or nonprofit organization might have. So our youth group formalized in December of 2016. It started at a World Peace Gathering, which is a international event rather, that we do every single year in California. And at this event, we formalized 3 main chapters for our youth team. And our youth team begins in Virginia, California, and Texas. And from those particular states, we spread out to different cities like Houston and Dallas, San Jose, and Orange County. And we have a mission statement that we decided to formalize at that particular conference. And our mission statement is to provide opportunities for young people to discover and deepen their spirituality, and to inspire others through altruistic service, to build and support like-minded communities throughout the world. So all of these things that are in our mission statement, we try to do every single day, either in small ways through our own personal families, but also in bigger ways like this upcoming trip to Vietnam that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So every single chapter in our youth team, right, California, Texas, and Virginia, is run by a group of 6 team leaders that we cycle out every single year. So this is our first team for our very first year, our inaugural year of our CSS Youth. So this is our team from Virginia. So this is me. Next to me is my brother, Austin. Austin, you can turn around. And next to Austin is a very handsome young man who's very ripped. His name is Matthew. Bottom right is Amelia. And then to the left of Amelia is Angie and Isabel Marikar. Both of them are a little bit busy today, so they couldn't make it, but they really, really wish they could be. So just a little bit about what we do for our youth program. We do a lot of different activities. One of them is we hold a bi-weekly CK10 and meditation class. It's a family class. It's a free class on Sundays from 11:15 to 1:30. So that class, we basically do exercise, integral Tai Chi at the beginning, and then we do about a 30 to 45 minute meditation, and then we do a little bit, we have snacks, and then we have a little bit of a story time, and those stories usually have some kind of moral to them, and this is a little easy way to share a little bit of wisdom and knowledge to our youth. So sometimes instead of our class, around once a month, we usually substitute that with an event to go out to Washington, D.C. And a lot of our parents, who are very dedicated, they donate some food, and we end up feeding the homeless out in Washington, D.C. at Franklin Square. So we've done that a couple of times, and that's always a lot of fun. On top of doing altruistic service out in Washington, D.C., we also have 2 national events. We usually have 2 camps. One of them is a summer camp that we've held in Virginia before. And then we also have a winter retreat that we hold out in Texas. So this is a picture from us at our winter retreat. Our retreats usually have 2 different themes. Our summer theme is usually based off of the idea of giving and compassionate service, or yapeng. And then if you wanted to go to our winter retreat, that theme is more of self-cultivation and developing our own individual spirituality. So we do a lot more meditation, and we learn a lot of spiritual teachings from our master who founded CSS, Thang Jung. So when we go to winter, that's more supto in terms of the 2 ideas of cultivation and compassionate giving. So some of the activities that we do at our camp, we have a lot of fun hiking in Shenandoah, the Shenandoah Mountains. We also learn and practice tea meditation. So a lot of the things that we do, we end up training our youngsters to become tea masters, being able to give peace and serenity through the act of serving tea. This is something that is a very ancient Zen tradition from Japan, but it's something that we've also kind of tailored a little bit for our youth. So this is our master, Thang Jung. He's the founder of CSS. He's also the person who founded CK10, our integral Tai Chi and meditation that we do. So whenever we meet him, he always gives us a lot of very good life advice and valuable spiritual teaching. So this is us practicing some of the things that our master gave us. In this particular image, we're practicing one of the ways to show appreciation. And if you know a little bit more about the Dharma, this is us practicing the Sitsa Ga. This is our Virginia team, or at least most of us, those of us who flew to Austin for our December retreat. We had a lot of fun that day. So going back to what I said before, usually at the end of each retreat that we have a small conference. And at that conference, we have a set of initiatives that we come up with for the upcoming year that we decide that we want to pursue. And so one of the initiatives that we came up after summer, so about a year ago from now, we decided that we wanted to practice meditation more together. Most of us at that time were very new to meditation. Some of us were really having a hard time sitting for 10, 15 minutes and being quiet and focused. So we decided that we wanted to all practice together through what we call an online meditation. So we basically call into a conference call through Uber Conference. And then either myself or Austin will lead meditation for about half an hour. And then after that, we do another story time for another 15 minutes or so. We do that every day, Monday through Friday, from 9 p.m. to around 9:45. And then that way, it's also a really good way for us to keep in contact with our friends from Texas and California. And that's something that we look forward to do every single day. Another thing that we decided to focus on in terms of our initiatives after winter camp was the CSS Youth 365. So a lot of people have put out studies, scientific studies, that say that after 21 days, if you do something every single day, it becomes a short-term habit. And then if you do it for around 2 months, then it becomes a habit for life, a long-term habit. So one of the habits that we're trying to instill in our youth is an act of service every single day, an act of kindness, and that kind of compassionate thinking. So we encourage our youth to do an act of service every single day. It can be small, just like washing the dishes, or something big, like going out to Franklin Square and serving the homeless on your own. Basically, all the things that we do, we try to instill in our youth this act, or this thinking, this mentality, that giving to others is the greatest way to find happiness for yourself. So that's something that we try to do every single day. And the type of stories that come with, I forgot to mention, the stories that we do after Uber Conference meditation, you will be able to sample a little bit of that later when we do some of our skits for the entertainment part. The other initiative that we came up after the winter retreat is our CSS Youth Help. This is more related to the stuff that we're doing in Vietnam. So every single month, we commit to donating a sum of money. It doesn't have to be a large sum, but we do try to keep it at a couple $100s every month to various charity organizations in Vietnam and other countries. Right now, because we're getting ready to go back to Vietnam, we are donating to certain places that we're planning to visit when we go there. So if you were to think about the CSSU 365 as helping people on a very local level, your family, your community, this is us reaching out and kind of interacting on the global scale and trying to teach our youth that we can help much more beyond what we see right here. So we donate every single month, so I'm going to show you some of the things that we've done so far since January. So we've donated a couple of individual scholarships or individual donations to specific people. That's what we did for the month of February. So all these people that you will see here, we donated to in February. So Cô Phương Thuy is here, I believe. She's Emily's mom. She's one of our youth parents. So a lot of people sometimes ask, when we donate, where does that money go to? Who actually handles the money? And a lot of our youth have parents that consistently go back to Vietnam or have family that live there. And so it's very much kind of like a small family organization in terms of our family members are the ones that are going back there and really, getting in the dirt and really doing this to help us out. So all of those were from February. In March, we donated $200 to a soup kitchen in Vietnam. And basically, for that soup kitchen, they serve a couple hundred people every single day. And it only costs $1 to feed a person a single meal, right? And that meal is, it's a full meal. It's several different, portions of food. And so we donated $200, and that basically is enough to feed 200 people for that day. In April, we gave an individual scholarship to a medical student in Vietnam. The type of... Okay, 1,000. Okay, I'm sorry. So we gave a $1,000 scholarship to a student in Vietnam who is trying to go to medical school. Medical school and actually education in Vietnam in general is very, very inexpensive compared to the U.S. So this tuition that we gave him was enough for books, for paying tuition, for everything that he needed, computers and everything for a whole year. And this is just a snapshot of his housing condition and where he lives as he goes to medical school. So a lot of the donations that we give to students, in particular this young man, we do keep in contact with those students, and they let us know how they're doing. We do like to see how they're feeling, if they need additional help, if there's any kind of family circumstance that has made it difficult for them to go through school. If there's any hardship that we can help them with, then we definitely do. We also have donated in the month of May $2,500 to the Sakya Care Foundation, which is a medical team of Vietnamese doctors, dentists, optometrists that go to Vietnam, India, and other different countries. They also do clinics in the United States. They primarily focus on providing medical care to nuns and monks in temples where they're rather underserved. They don't have access to medical care. So as of late, they have kind of expanded their mission statement to include people who in the surrounding vicinity. So even though they treat nuns and monks in that particular temple, for a couple of days after their mission, they usually open up their clinic to surrounding villagers who would like to come and receive free medical care. And this is the group that our CSS youth will be going along with to Vietnam. So before we begin our medical mission in Vietnam, there are a couple of youth activities that are separate from Sakya Care Foundation. So these are activities that youth have decided to do ourselves. These are charity missions that we're doing on our own. visiting certain places that we've donated to in the past, and also visiting some places that we haven't necessarily seen before. So in terms of our charity projects, we're going to be going to 3 primary locations. These are the 3 different places. The first is an orphanage and handicap center for children. The second is the Children's Cancer Hospital. And the third is a temple that houses around 50 to 60 elderly who are unable to take care of themselves or are homeless, and so the temple basically takes them in. So now I'm going to go a little bit into detail as to what the youth are planning to donate to each of these locations. So the first place that we're going to is the Orphanage and Handicap Center for Children. So at this place, there's around 350 young children. And on that day, we're going to donate a meal, 1 lunch for all those kids. We're also going to donate a ton of rice, like literally 1 metric ton, 100 boxes of instant noodles, 2,000 boxes of milk, cartons of milk, that's by request for nutrition, and then school materials in terms of books and backpacks, and then clothes and shoes, and then candies and stuffed animals from the US, which is something that the children there also specifically asked and would enjoy. It's the type of candies that we have in the US, Snickers and Crunch Bars are things that are a luxury in Vietnam. So a short story about this particular center that I discovered about recently, I heard about recently. So a couple decades ago, there was a young Vietnamese girl. She's around 5 years old, and at the time, her parents were very poor. So they sold that girl into sex trafficking. Basically, she became sold as a sex slave. And from the ages of 5 to 16 years old, she went through a lot of hardship. The story is pretty gruesome. During that time, she became pregnant with a baby, and she gave birth to a healthy boy at that time. As she was homeless and wandering around on the street, she would often go looking through the trash to find food, and one of the things that she would do is she would take the pulp off of the banana peels that people have already eaten, and she would take the pulp and she would scrape it clean and she would feed that to her child. So her child grew up rather, malnourished, and during that time her baby got very sick one day. So basically there are other homeless people who are around, the kind of a small community, and so those people said that they would take her baby to the doctor for her. And when they took her baby away from her, she never saw her baby again, and those people never returned. So from then on, every single day that she would walk around the street, she would see orphans, and she would wonder for several years after that if that baby could have been hers. And so from that point on, she decided that she would like to open up a center for orphans, and in the hope that maybe one day she will be able to unknowingly find her child and be able to take care of him again. So from that point on, she opened up, one of the people who ended up buying her or buying her as a sex slave, took pity on her and gave her the money to start up the center. And from then on, she began to fundraise enough money to open up and make the center bigger and bigger. So she has a bunch of different children that stay there that she treats basically as her own. She named them after her last name. So this is the center that we're going to be going to. This exact same center is the center that she began. So we're basically going to give a ton of rice. And then this is the exact cartons of milk that we're going to be giving to the youth there. For the meal that we're going to be treating the youth to, instead of giving rice and noodles, which is usually what people usually give, it's an easy thing to give, we're going to treat all the kids to a bowl of pho each. That's something that we take for granted here because it's so accessible. It's something that it's just kind of like a nice meal for us, but for them it's a luxury that none of them have probably ever tasted before. So we're going to treat them to, this is their lunch basically. We're also going to give, I think we have 50 pounds of candy that we're going to bring back in suitcases and give to all the youth there. And And then we also have 750 stuffed animals that we have created, that we have accrued through donations. These are our friends from Texas. They have the bulk of our stuffed animals, and we basically sent all of our stuffed animals back to Vietnam already. So when we get there, we're going to distribute them to the kids in the orphanage, as well as the hospital. So the second place we're going to is a cancer hospital for children. To say that it is a hospital, if you live in the US or any part of the Western world, I think is an overstatement, because if you look at some of the pictures later, you wouldn't really call it a hospital. But we're going to be visiting this hospital and treating these youth. These youth basically cannot afford medical treatment. So in a way, it is kind of like a hospice for them. And so we're going to donate $25 per child and their families. Those families individually are going to be able to, provide for that child whatever that they personally need for comfort. We're going to give them stuffed animals and candy, as well as 800 boiled eggs, which is something that was also per request for nutrition, and then 1,800 boxes of milk too. So like I said before, this is kind of what the situation is like in this hospital. You can see it's very jam-packed. And oftentimes a lot of people would have someone lying on the bed up here, and then maybe you have storage down here, but you also have people maybe lying underneath the bed too, just to save space. The last place that we're going to be going as a youth group is a temple. This temple has approximately 50 to 60 elderly living there. We're going to donate around $1,000 in total. It's around $25 per person, and then donate milk, eggs, a bunch of different cooking ingredients, a half ton of rice, as well as one set of clothes for each of the people that live there. So all of the things that I just detailed are things that we're going to do as a youth group individually, separate from Sakya, before Sakya begins their medical mission. So from June 28th to July 8th, for around 9 days, that's going to be the part that we begin working together with the Sakya Care Foundation. So just a little rundown, here's the program that we're going to be doing. We're traveling to 3 different provinces in Vietnam, in the western part of Vietnam. We're going to Đồng Tháp, An Giang, and Kim Giang. So those are the 3 different places, and then we're going to be traveling basically by bus through all those different places. So the very first day we have an orientation meeting, and then we have a travel day, setup and volunteer training. And then we have clinic on the first day and then the second day at this first location, around 500 patients each. And then after that, we're going to travel and then set up on our new location. This new location has a place that our youth plan to visit. It's a temple with around 90 seniors and 20 children that live there. And then we also plan to visit a village school and donate playground equipment and any kinds of school materials that they might need. And then we have our 3rd and 4th clinic day at this new location. And then we travel again, and then we have clinic 5, 6, and 7. And then the 7th day is actually a reserved day to treat monks and nuns only. The first couple of days are specifically for, well, not specifically, they're for the general public, and then the 7th day is specifically for nuns and monks. So this is just a copy of the Sakya Care Foundation's flyer. I put this up here, it's kind of hard to see from the back, so I'll read it out loud. But I really, really like the way that they kind of framed the act of giving. So usually when people donate to a cause, they see the budget being, in this case, for Sakya Care Foundation's mission, $50,000, which is a lot. But if you were to think about your own individual contribution and how much that would help, they described it here. So for $10, you can give someone a free dental treatment. So cavities, extractions, fillings, all of those for just $10 for one person. If you give $15, then that's enough to give free medications and vitamin supplements for a whole year for someone. And then for $25, you can provide someone a free pair of glasses. Not just reading glasses, but real prescription glasses that will last them a very, very long time. And if you were like me and you wear glasses, then you know how expensive those glasses can be. So this whole mission that we're going on with Sakya Care Foundation, we're expecting to treat around 3,000 people, and very well could be higher than that. So these are some of the pictures from Sakya's mission in 2015 to India. Usually there's a long queue, a very long line, and people start lining up around 4 in the morning for this. And they walk miles and miles to come to the clinic. These are some images from our dental clinic in India. A lot of times, people don't actually make it to the clinic until very, very late in the day. Sometimes it's really, really late at night. And despite all that, usually the medical team tries to work and provide everyone the kit they need because they've traveled such a long way just to get there. So for all of us who are going on this mission, your support means a lot to us, both emotionally. This is going to be my first time, and I think almost all of us, our first time going back to Vietnam, doing a mission like this, doing charity work like this in such an intense and rigorous kind of environment. So this is going to be a very tough and a very life-changing experience for us. For me personally, I would like to go into the medical field. I'm planning to go to medical school. Being able to see the need that people have, not just in the US, because at least relatively speaking, we're very well off, but seeing people who are in real poverty, that's something that I'm going to take with me and make it my mission for the rest of my life. But for the rest of us, this is something that we're planning to go do our best to help, and we would really appreciate any help that you can give us in any way, shape, or form. So whether it's in the form of a donation or in terms of any kind of emotional support that you can give us, we really appreciate that. We just wanted to remind everyone that 100% of all of the donations that are made will go straight to the cause. All of the travel expenses, living expenses, and food, we take care of ourselves. So we have already paid for all of our travel expenses out of pocket. And in terms of food and everything like that, hotel expenses, we've already paid for that. So 100% of donations will go straight to the people that we are trying to help and that you are trying to help. That's really, really important for us to let all of you know. Basically, to all of us, we are kind of just the arms and legs for the kind of heart that you have. So all of the merits that come from giving and doing an act of kindness are really yours, and we really admire all the things that that you can do to help us. We are basically just there to physically do the work, but it's really your support and your donations and your help that is really making the difference, basically. So if you can help us in any way, a small donation, $10, just like I said before, can make a huge difference. If you want to donate a little bit more, that's perfectly fine too. So without further, that's basically the end of the presentation. So thank you so much for coming. If you have any questions, you can talk to any of us who are here today, any of the youth who are wearing our pink shirt. And then you can also feel free to contact us at our email or our Facebook page. Both of those things I'll just leave up here. So thank you so much for coming up here. So before we break and do the fun stuff, which is eating, I'd like to invite Beck Yung, who is the head of our CSS East here, to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Romney. I think there's a worst spot to talk is when you are the only thing between this crowd of hungry people and dinner. Thưa các bác, các anh chị, con là Dũng Lê, người đứng đầu Hội Thầy Bùi Phường Sự miền Đông. Xin cảm ơn tất cả các bác, các anh chị đến tham dự ngày hôm nay. Con xin phép được nói chuyện bằng tiếng Anh để cho các em dễ nghe hơn. Long Yi told me just about 20 minutes ago that I have to say a few words. I was sitting down there trying to rack my brain to see what kind of wisdom that I can impact to impress you. And I come up with this invention. I call it 3M. 3M. Okay? It's not M&M, it's 3M. So, the initiative to start the CSS Youth Organization arose about six and a half years ago, I think, when Cô Đăng Hà and Bác Trực and a group of parents came to me and asked me to lead what we call a Dharma youth program. And back then, we didn't have the headquarters yet. So for those of you who went back that far, we used to go from community center to community center every month. And each month we tell you next time where we're gonna meet, right? Since then, obviously we have grown. And it is a real pleasure and it's a real appreciation for me to see how much you grow, especially because you did it without me. I didn't do anything. I just get the thing started. And then I think Bác Trực and Cô Đăng Hà and other people took over. After a while, they told me, "Dũng, we don't need you anymore. Go away." And then Long Yi and Kenny, Austin, and other people stepped in and start to run the program. And that's the way it should be. Okay. So the reason why I was telling you this story is to fit to this theme of the 3M. But first, how many of you is gonna be going to the medical mission in Vietnam? Raise your hand. Okay. So how many of you have gone to the charity activity that we have here, like feed the homeless and things like that? Raise your hand. So how many people have gone to the retreat, the meditation retreat that we have had? We have at least 2 so far. Raise your hand. The camp?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the rest of you, what happened to you?
They're new since then.
All right. So, if you're going to the medical mission in Vietnam, why do you go there? Why?